My name is Darwin German, and I'm here with the newest member of our board of directors.
My name is Ben Garland. I spent 11 years in the NFL. Now that I'm retired, I love real estate and I want to get to invest in it. So came to Darwin to learn more and find a place to invest with. And so I just really want to ask you, how do you select the properties that we invest in?
Well, it's a very actually difficult process because there's so many properties out there that come to market. We look at absolutely everyone that comes in the market, and we'll just automatically, nope, don't like that area, nope, don't like that age, no, we don't like whatever it is, automatically throw those out. But then we go to the next step and the next step and the next step, going through all of our analysis, and it's very detailed going through. It takes us between 30 minutes and an hour for the preliminary analysis, then another 2 hours for a more detailed analysis. So we want to minimize the amount of time we spend on each one of them. So high level, drill down, drill down, drill down, offer, and do that. But it takes about 300 properties to look at and analyze before we buy one. It's so funny, I get these calls, hey, I found a property for sale. And I'm like, congratulations, they're everywhere. And just because you found one doesn't mean it's a good deal. So you've got to go through your underwriting and know what it is.
I feel like I was one of those people that sent you one of those. I remember sending you a duplex I found. I was like, this is in a great part of town. Looks like the location's good. I think the numbers can work out. I sent it to you and you showed me like, oh, when you really look at an investment, this is not a great one. What's the major thing you look for when you're just like looking over a bunch of them? Because you said you analyzed 300. What's one thing that just sticks out as something that this is a potential investment?
Well, it's got to be in an area that we like. It's got to be the vintage we like. There's got to be a story there. How can we improve the value of that property? If they say this is a stabilized, A-quality asset, you don't have to do anything, and it's already occupied, all I think is there's no upside. And so we need to have some upside. We need to have some juice in the game, and know where we're going to go ahead and add value. And that's a pretty long process, but like I said, we just go through them one at a time, and if it makes sense, we go to the next step. And I'm sure there's some that slide through the crack that we don't have all the information, that somebody else might look a little bit closer, a little bit deeper. But I have found that every time I've put a property under contract, we get down that far, there's extra juice I can find once we get there because our initial underwriting is so conservative.
If you had to pick one area that you think makes the biggest impact, sounds like the value add is very important for you. Is it finding a property with a lot of value add potential? Is it looking for cash flow? What is it in your mind that's the number one?
The number one thing is how can we make sure that we are preserving and growing the investor's capital? Is there a return for them? That's number one. It's always investors first. And if it makes sense, then we can go ahead and move ahead with it. But there's a lot of aspects of things that will knock it out, knock it out, knock it out, knock it out, and hey, this is what's left.
I really appreciate that. I know when I give you my money, I work too hard to lose it. So definitely
You work too hard to lose it?
Work way too hard to lose it.
Way too hard to lose it. Okay.
Yeah, my body hurts too bad for me to give somebody their money and them not to protect it and take care of it. So I definitely appreciate that aspect. Within that, do you think location is key? And if so, why Texas?
Location is one component. Because you can say, hey, Dallas is a great place to invest. Well, there's pockets that are good and pockets that are bad. So you really have to drill down to the micro level. But Texas as a whole has just got huge growth opportunity. Still a lot of people moving here, huge growth, especially with a lot of Fortune 500 companies coming in here, bringing in additional population. And that's the key. Population growth equals income growth. As a funny sidebar, the most stable real estate in the country that I've found, Oklahoma. And that's because it never goes up in value. I mean, it's just stable, it doesn't go anywhere, and that's because there's not a bunch of companies moving there. And so you need to have those companies moving there because your expenses are going to go up. You're going to have struggles, you're going to have challenges, so you want to be in markets where you are at least being able to grow ahead of the total growth curve for the country.
And it sounds like Dallas is growing, so I'm glad that that's definitely where you have our money, because it sounds like both with the tax benefits of living here, that it's very business friendly and that business is going to really allow a lot of employers to bring in a lot more employees. You hear about in a lot of things, there's secret indicators within the trade that tell you a direction a market's trending. I heard that men's underwear sales was the greatest indicator of a oncoming recession. Is there some secret aspect that you look for within real estate to know, like, this is an area that's growing?
There's a lot of indicators you look at. You want to have higher than average annual growth. The higher the income for that area. You want to look and see that for every white collar job that's brought in, there's 3 blue collar jobs that come in. So you want to look for white collar job growth also. Pharmaceutical companies have been moving in here. There's a lot of other, I'm just remembering one off the top of my head, a pharmaceutical company was coming in here and they were bringing in 500 employees and the average wage is over $100,000 a piece. Well, with that many white collar, there's going to be a whole lot of blue collar on there. And we focus more on the blue collar market, the working class that has to have a place to live. We need to provide good quality housing to those people. So we need to know what's going on, what's going to fill up our apartment. As another sidebar, you don't want to have a place that you have all of one industry in that particular property. You don't want to have, and this happens more in small towns where you've got one major employer. Well, that employer moves out, town's dead. You don't have any possibility of leasing your apartments. So you want to have good job growth is the number one key. You can then look at a closer level is looking at the kindergartens. Okay, who has growth in their registration? Well, we know that if families are moving there, they'll be there for a long period of time. And those are just a couple of the dozen or so that we use.
I would have never thought that kindergartens would be a great indicator of where places were going, but it totally makes sense. If you...
I wouldn't have known about underwear being a leading indicator for recession. That'd be interesting.
Oh, definitely. But it's awesome to see some of these insights that you have from your years and years of experience. What do you think is some of the things that an investor who's, they're trying to go buy their first rental property, you hear about the 1% rule. Is there any merit to that?
Oh, there's absolutely merit to that. However, if interest rates go down, you can actually compress that some. So the 1% rule, if you have rent of $1,000, you can pay $100,000 for the house. $3,000 rent, $300,000. That gives a lot of cushion to a purchase on that. And that's a great basic rule of thumb. Again, you better go in there and look at the demographics, look at the growth to see what the area is doing, because you still want to buy in the path of progress. There's many things, but that's a good general indicator. And it actually makes sense. Sometimes it could be rents $2,000 a month and you can spend $350 on a house. There's a lot of differing factors. I will say there's some advice that I give to a whole lot of younger investors. You're starting out early, you're doing that. My tip for them is you go buy a fourplex. A fourplex has 4 units. You're buying 1 for an owner occupied. The other 3 add additional income to you to qualify for that loan. And it's the same loan as you would get for a single family house, but now you have rental units with it. You live there, you manage the property, you start to learn leasing, maintenance, management, etc. And you're not looking to be there forever. You're looking to be there for a year. While you fix up the property and you do that, get a long-term loan. Now you go ahead and move out there, move out of that one, keep it, go buy another one. Because you have a 30-year note on that property and you hold on to that one long-term and you know all about it. You go do it again and again and again. And eventually you're going to stay where you want to stay, but your renters are paying for your mortgage payment.
That sounds like a great way to start learning.
Yeah.
I feel like you're so transparent in just giving out all the trade secrets. Isn't this a disadvantage to you? And where you teach a guy to do that, it feels like, do they even need you? I mean,
well, yeah, it's interesting you say that. Nothing is proprietary. I laugh at, hey, I have this spreadsheet and it's proprietary. The spreadsheet we use to analyze the property, I've developed over 30 years, but you know what? Anybody can go recreate it. It's the same economics. It's the assumptions you use for those economics that really make a difference. And here's the thing. Our whole motto is we give information away, teach people about that, because I know that if you go out and you buy a property, you want to go buy a house, we'll tell you all about it, how to go ahead and do it, because I know you're not going to like it. You're going to want somebody else to manage it and take care of it. You're going to see better growth with somebody else Because not only have you seen everybody be a hero the last 10 years, everybody has a story of somebody that lost money. And especially big for somebody like you, when in 2008, you might have seen your parents go through a crash and their home value hurt, or if they had rentals, those get hurt and lose those. So you can get hurt in real estate. It's absolutely possible. That's why you invest with somebody with the knowledge and the experience to know how to go through all that. And it also diversifies your risk because you're one of many investors on a property. You can then spread it out over numerous properties, and you have professional management taking care of all of it.
I can tell you, it definitely sounds like a ton of work, just managing the properties, fixing a ton of stuff, and just the risk mitigation. I don't want somebody slipping on my property and trying to sue me for all I'm worth. So I'd much rather you find the right properties, you deal with all the hassle, and just send the returns this way.
And we do have that hassle. That is absolutely a normal thing, is having different lawsuits, things like that. On that same vein, one of the questions a lot of people have, what happens if there's a fire? What happens if there's a flood? We had one property get hit by a tornado. But here's the whole thing. We have insurance for all those things. As long as the people are safe, that's number one. Make sure that they're safe. But we have insurance that covers to go ahead and put all that back and pay us for lost rents. So there's not a risk on fire, flood, tornado, anything else that happens. And we've been through all of those things, so we know how to handle them.
One of the things I love most, I mean, you talk about all those struggles you've had to deal with while managing these properties. You have a management company, but you don't make a profit for it. Why?
Okay, well, first I've got to go ahead and say, management sucks. Period, end of story. Okay, it's a 24-hour-a-day, high-intensity business. You're taking care of people in their housing. They're at work all day. Then they come home and they find a problem. So you've got a lot of after-hours calls, things like that, nights and weekends, and all of these things. And you have a city. We have some properties that over 1,000 people live on those properties. So you're the police, the fire department, you're everything essentially. And management is horrible. There's no glory in it. It's just a trudge. But you have to have your own management company, because third-party management companies, they're selling a product. Okay, well, we lost that contract. We picked this contract up. Oh, we got two more over here. It doesn't matter if we lose them, because it's not their money. If the value goes down, they don't get hurt by it. Value goes up, they don't get rewarded for it. So you have to control your own destiny. You have to have your own management. And that's for speed of implementation. If we see something happen in the market, we can adjust on that. We don't have to wait 30 days for a report and look at that and say, oh, now we need to adjust that. Water bills are a great example. You got to track those water bills every day. You can't wait until you get your water bill, because that means there's been a leak for a month, and now you got the water bill, another 2 weeks until you saw that, and now you got to get out and fix it. Now you've got, you can go 2 months without identifying it. Whereas if you're the management company, you can identify those things earlier and adjust to them.
Sounds like your management company is a lot more hassle, but with that you gain a lot more control. It's like renting a car versus owning a car. You're going to treat the one you own a lot better. So I love that you guys actually own the management company, giving you way more control of the asset. It just makes me feel better as an investor.
And just like you said, we don't operate that for a profit. I actually lose money every month on property management. And that's because I love to align everybody's interests, put my interests along with the investors. Property management company also, we're not trying to make money as a property management company. So we're not like those other ones. We get a contract, lose a contract, whatever. That's not how it works. We make money on the real estate alongside of the investor. We're not trying to make money off the contract.
I love that, because it means when you do well, I do well.
Exactly.
It makes you do even better. So I love that idea. We've been talking a lot about the selection process of these properties, but I think just as important is selecting the people you work with, and that's why I selected you. But how do you select your team members that are helping find these properties and manage these properties?
I feel like you teed that one up for me. I love it. I love it, because it really is big, and it's really going on right now. Corporate culture is number one. First off, we use an inverted pyramid as far as our corporate structure. Most people, it's top-down management. The president goes on down, all the way down to the frontline workers. Well, we identified a long time ago, it's those frontline workers the maintenance people, leasing people, that they have the most interaction with our customers, the residents. And so if you're not supporting the residents, you need to be supporting the people that are supporting the residents. So we do a inverted pyramid on that, where we're supporting all the way up. And it has to have that corporate culture of taking care of, the president takes care of the vice president, the regionals, they all take care of each other going all the way up to that front line, so that front line can take care of the residents. Because the residents are taken care of, they don't move out. We have lower turnover costs, which makes the property operate better. We've got lower expenses. We've got, it's actually easier to manage a property with long-term residents, but then you also have to balance the fact that we're going to be raising rents, so we have to provide value to them. In that front line, those are the people that provide the value. If you're not getting your service requests taken care of, you're going to find someplace else.
I love that. It sounds like you guys are adding a lot of value. Especially we're talking about a lot of selection and what you've been doing. I got to ask, how did you put your name on the building? I mean, I would be personally terrified. It's one of those things where if it's going well, I'm proud to have my name up there, but if it's going bad, I'm terrified. So it's a lot of risk directly associated with you. So why did you select that?
Well, I'm going to quote Cal Ripken Jr. here. Cal Ripken Jr. says, Cal Ripken isn't my name, it's my dad's name. Well, I'm actually the second as well. So Darwin German was my dad's name, and I'm trying to carry on his honor and his legacy of what he's doing. So that makes it very important. And he actually started the company in '89. I mean, I was only 19 years old, so I didn't start it then, but I worked with him day in and day out since I was 10 years old. So carrying that on, he had a reputation here. Our management company is Darcorp Management Group. Darwin German Real Estate Investments is just a DBA of Darcorp Management Group that he started a long time ago. But they don't know who Darcor is. And whereas my dad's been in the industry here, of course he died in 2006, so he's been out of it for quite a while, but carrying on that legacy, I can carry that on. They heard the name Darwin German, and then that's showing that it's me. It's my butt on the line. It's me that goes out there and does it. As an additional example on that same thing, when we find a property, I put up the earnest money deposit. I take the risk. I pay for the due diligence. I pay for the loan application fee, which, by the way, on a property we're buying now, the Mark, is $1 million loan application fee. Okay. Plus $500,000 non-refundable earnest money day one. That comes out of my pocket because I don't want the investors to risk that. There's a lot of sponsors that what they would do is they would raise the money, and as they're raising the money, utilize that money to go ahead and pay those items. And if the deal falls apart, sorry, investor, you lost. And you didn't even get to the point of buying the property. And so I'm the one that takes that risk. That's happened a lot over the last year where people put properties under contract. I know one guy, he had $5 million non-refundable.
Jeez.
$5 million. He couldn't get the deal closed because of interest rates and everything that's happened. And even though the seller worked with him for 6 months, they finally said, you're not going to be able to get it done. He lost $5 million of investor money.
Ugh.
Whereas that should have come out of the sponsor's pocket. I feel like the sponsor, me, needs to take that risk rather than putting it on you. There's only been one property we put under contract that didn't close on, and that was because of fraud by the seller. But we already had all the money raised. We were ready to close it. I could have used their money to go ahead and do that. Instead, not only did I say, hey, I'm the one that's going to take that loss, I'm going to go ahead and compensate you for the money that we had tied up for 6 months in the next deal, because I don't want your money tied up not earning anything. So we want to be very cognizant of taking care of you, taking care of the investor. That's number one. We take care of you, everything else falls into place.
Well, I'm glad your name's on the building. It sounds like you are going out of your way to protect your dad's legacy and ensure that that shows up with those that you invest with, those tenants you work with. And I'm excited about that. I don't want to take those risks that you're taking, but I'm glad you are and protecting that name, because that makes me all the more want to give you my money to ensure that you're protecting me, to protect that name that's on the building. So
absolutely, it all goes hand in hand, and we take that very, very serious. And we always want to make sure to look out for you every single time.
Well, keep taking it serious because you got my money. So
We'll do it.
appreciate your time.
And thank you for being on our board.